Drones. You know, just a few years back, we all thought of them as, well, toys for hobbyists, right? Or maybe for taking cool aerial photos. But today, on the modern battlefield, they've become one of the most disruptive and decisive technologies we've seen in a century. It's a huge shift. So let's dive right into this transformation and see how these small, unmanned systems are completely tearing up the old rulebook of war. And look, this impact isn't some far-off, futuristic idea. No, it's happening right now, today. We're seeing conflicts all over the globe get completely transformed. We're moving away from relying on these huge, concentrated armies to something way more scattered, decentralized, and frankly, incredibly lethal. The age of drone warfare? It's already here. This quote, this really gets to the heart of the whole revolution. It's all about this idea of massive asymmetry. And that single concept is throwing decades of military strategy right out the window. So what does that mean? It means that a tiny, agile, and super cheap drone can take out a multi-million-dollar tank, a ship, or some other huge piece of military hardware. It is literally the David and Goliath story playing out on battlefields every single day. So the really crucial point here is this massive paradigm shift. You see, for decades, military thinking was built around having just a few huge, complex, and incredibly expensive assets. We're talking aircraft carriers, stealth bombers, right? The really big-ticket items. Well, drone warfare flips that whole idea completely on its head. It's now a game of mass, of attrition. Victory might just go to the side that can throw a massive number of cheap, disposable drones into the fight. As the old military saying goes, quantity has a quality all its own. Okay, so this new reality obviously presents a huge, huge challenge. Think about it. If the sky is suddenly filled with thousands of small, fast, and cheap enemy drones, how on earth do you defend against them? It's kicked off this frantic, high-stakes game of cat and mouse, with countries all over the world just scrambling to figure out how to counter this new threat.
All right, so first, you gotta see them coming. And for that, militaries use a few different layers of detection. You've got your traditional radar, bouncing radio waves off things, but you also have what are called RF analyzers, which are kind of like digital eavesdroppers. They're listening in for the drone's control signals. Then you've got optical sensors, which are basically just really powerful cameras to get a visual confirmation. And you even have acoustic sensors that are just listening for that very specific telltale buzz of a drone's propellers.
Okay, so once a drone is detected, you have to stop it. And the options here, well, they range from brute force all the way to some seriously high-tech finesse. On one end of the spectrum, you have things like RF jammers, which just blast the drone with so much electronic noise that it loses its connection. You can even get physical with things like nets, fired from the ground or even from other drones. But then you get to the really futuristic stuff. High-energy lasers that can literally burn them out of the sky, and even cyber systems that can hijack the drone and take control of it themselves. But, and this is a big but, there is no silver bullet here. There's no perfect solution. Every single one of these countermeasures has some serious trade-offs. Let's just take RF jammers as an example. So on the plus side, they're not crazy expensive, and you're not actually firing a bullet or a missile. But the cons, man, they are significant. They have a really short range, they can accidentally jam your own friendly communications, which is a huge problem. And maybe worst of all, when you jam a drone, it might just drop out of the sky, or it might fly off in some totally random direction. You have zero control over where it ends up. And this brings us from the tactical, down in the dirt battlefield, all the way up to the global factory floor. Because this isn't just a military problem anymore. It's a massive strategic and industrial one. The ability to simply produce more drones than your adversary, well, that's fast becoming a defining feature of national power. And what that has done is ignite a full-blown global drone race. And on one side of this race, you have the absolutely fearsome industrial power of China. Get this, a single Chinese company, DJI, accounts for 70% of all commercial drone sales worldwide. As a country, China isn't cranking these things out by the thousands or even tens of thousands. We're talking millions per year. The scale is it's staggering. Now let's contrast that with the United States military. Even with programs ramping up, current acquisitions are still measured in the thousands per year. That's not just a small difference. That is a 3 orders of magnitude difference. We are talking about a scale that is literally 1,000 times smaller. It's a massive, massive gap. In this production gap, it's really not just about cheaper labor. As Apple CEO Tim Cook pointed out, it's about a much deeper, more structural difference in manufacturing skill.
It's about having, as he put it, advanced precision tooling and a giant pool of skilled engineers and technicians. Expertise that over decades has largely been moved overseas. And rebuilding an industrial base like that is a monumental challenge that you just can't solve overnight.
But let's step away from the hardware and the production lines for a minute, because this revolution is forcing us to face some really profound human and ethical questions. What's the real psychological cost of fighting a war from a computer screen, maybe thousands of miles away from the actual danger?
A really key concept we have to understand here is moral injury. Now, this is different from PTSD, which is usually rooted in fear for your own life. Moral injury, that's about the wound to your conscience that comes from doing, seeing, or failing to stop acts that go against your own deepest moral beliefs. For drone operators who are physically safe in a chair somewhere but are still performing lethal acts, this is a huge, significant risk.
I mean, the life of a drone operator is just filled with these totally unique stressors. There's something called the whiplash effect. Imagine this. 1 minute, you're in the middle of a high-stakes combat mission, and the next, you're driving home in traffic to have dinner with your kids. Operators also talk about this deep existential conflict, grappling with guilt and remorse. They might have to watch a target for days or even weeks, seeing them play with their children, go about their daily life before getting the order to strike. It creates this very strange and deeply disturbing sense of connection to the very person they're about to kill.
And all of this leads to one of the absolute thorniest ethical questions of our time. As we start delegating more and more of the decision-making process to algorithms and software, who's actually responsible? Can you really hand over the moral weight of a life-or-death decision to a piece of code? It creates this massive potential responsibility gap, and our legal and ethical systems are frankly struggling to keep up.
As revolutionary as this all feels right now, we have to understand that this is really just the first wave. The next giant leap forward isn't just about better remote-controlled drones. It's about AI-driven, autonomous systems. The swarm is coming, and it's going to change warfare even more profoundly than what we're seeing today.
Now, this has actually been a long time in the making. The idea of unmanned aerial warfare goes all the way back to 1849, of all things, with the Austrians using explosive balloons. But just look at the acceleration. In 1973, Israel was using simple drones as decoys. By 2001, the Predator drone was a signature weapon in the war on terror. And today, we have things like Turkey's Kızıl Elma, a supersonic unmanned fighter jet. So the next logical step, it's not just a single aircraft anymore, it's a coordinated, intelligent swarm of them. And here's the really critical takeaway. The first drone revolution was about removing the pilot from the cockpit. This second revolution, the one that's coming, is about removing the human from the decision-making loop altogether. We're moving from a world of one-to-one control to systems where a single person can command hundreds of autonomous drones at once, or where the drones themselves can make their own tactical decisions, communicating with each other to get the mission done. So all of this, the tactical game changers, the massive industrial race, the deep moral questions, and the coming rise of AI, it all leads us to one final, absolutely critical question. The technology is moving forward at a blistering pace, but are our strategies, our industries, and our ethics keeping up? Are we truly ready for the age of autonomous warfare?